Well, hello everybody and welcome to what was a slightly bizarre opening to the show. Let's hope this works now as well because our OBS microphone suddenly decided not to work. Hello, that's a great start to this weekend, isn't it? Hello everybody, welcome to the Brazilian Grand Prix or the Sao Paulo Grand Prix or whatever which one you want to call it. This is it then. This is the crunch point as well. 2 races to go. We've got mixed weather conditions expected throughout the weekend as well. We are going to be in for an absolute thriller for certain as well. The press conference is about to start as well. As ever, 2 press conferences as well. The first half as well will be about 20 minutes long. Then we'll get the drivers who are in the TV pen. Then we'll get our second lot of interviews. Then, of course, we'll be ready to go for the remainder of the session as well. Let's just minimise that a little bit as well. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic weekend. Wet weather, anticipation, absolutely fantastic. This is a current look at the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship as things stand as well, with absolute domination coming as well from absolute. Well, microphone number 3 coming in here. Microsoft Word is causing problems on the computer as well, so that's gone now. But again, Microsoft PCs are just absolutely terrible. Anyway, should we get back to it as well? No idea where Josh is at the moment. He's not in the Discord call. Hasn't replied to me. So this is just going great at the moment, isn't it? Anyway, here's the championship. Max Verstappen is the way, 416 points. Perez is on 280. Leclerc on 275. Russell and Hamilton. Russell is ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Whoever thought we'd be seeing that as well. Sainz 6th, Norris 7th, Ocon is 8th, Alonso 9th, and Bottas rounding out the top 10 as well. Constructors' Championship, that's been wrapped up by Red Bull as well. They are the Constructors' Champions. We're heading to Lagos, or the Autodromo Jose Carlos Palace as well. 4.309 kilometres, 71 laps ahead of us on Sunday. First raced here back in 1973. Race distance on Sunday, 305.879 kilometres. Lap record here, 110.540. And hopefully we should be seeing a very entertaining weekend when we get into the mix of things as well. So, first press conference is coming up shortly. Valtteri Bottas, Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez and Alexander Albon are going to be in the press conference as well. And from the TV pen will be Yuki Tsunoda. First off, though, let's join over then with the press conference, part number 1, and then due in as well at 2:05 is the second lot.
A very warm welcome. Please come in, Checo. As you can see, we have one late starter here, but a very warm welcome to the drivers' press conference ahead of the FIA Formula One Sao Paulo Grand Prix this weekend. As you can see from left to right, we're joined by Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, Valtteri Bottas and Alex Albon. Last in, first to get the questions. Sergio, lovely to see you. Now, can we throw it back to last weekend, first of all? You attended the official launch of the Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend. What was it like? What was your standout memory?
Yeah, it was a great weekend. It's great to see how the fans are looking so much forward into it. Things didn't went that well in the casino, so not very nice memories, but other than that, everything was really cool. Really happy. You know, I've been in Vegas many times before, so it was very enjoyable. Short visit, and yeah, just looking forward. I think it's gonna be the biggest event in the world next year.
Very exciting indeed. Now let's bring it on to this weekend. First thing I wanted to ask you was about your helmet design. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's nice. We're doing a collaboration with Disney for the Black Panther movie, which represents a lot of on the movie, a lot of my country, and the helmet itself, it's unique, and I really liked it.
Okay, and what about your chances this weekend here at Interlagos? You've had a win, a second and a third in the last 4 races, so what are your expectations here?
Yeah, we just want to keep the momentum going. Mexico, we had too many issues on the weekend. I really thought that a much better result was in the cards. So hopefully it can be a clean weekend with with no issues, and we can show a true pace that we've had for the last few races.
All right, and Checo, this is the last time that you're going to be in the FIA pre-race press conference this year with just the one race to go. How would you sum up your second year?
Why is that?
Because in Abu Dhabi you'll be doing the TV pen.
Okay.
How would you sum up?
I thought he was looking better than that. Sorry.
Checo, so my question to you is, how would you sum up your second year with Red Bull Racing?
Yeah, it certainly started really well. Some reliability issues in the beginning, but things were looking on track. We were in the mix for the championship early on. Certainly, I had a couple of bad races that really put me off contention for the championship. So there is some work to do in that regard together with the team to make sure that we can keep that consistency throughout and that we can come back next year and fight for the title if we were to have a similar level of car for next year. So, and yeah, it's important that we finish our season on a high so that we can come back next year and start strong throughout the season.
Okay, thank you for that, Checo. Carlos, coming to you now. Some sad news to begin with. Mauro Forghieri, Ferrari's legendary technical director from the 60s and 70s, passed away last week. What do you think Mauro's legacy is?
Well, first of all, very sad news, and obviously my condolences to the whole Ferrari family and his family and close friends. But yeah, very sad. You can imagine 11 titles with Scuderia Ferrari are a lot. He's been an incredible part of the legendary name of Ferrari, you know, and building all those titles. He was very loved inside the family, so he will be dearly missed. And in order to commemorate him, we will have a sticker in the car this weekend, so we will try and make him proud.
Okay, thank you for that, Carlos. And bringing it on to the here and now here in Brazil. It was a slightly disappointing race for the team in Mexico. We're at a slightly lower altitude here. Do you think you'll be more competitive as a result?
Yeah, we believe Mexico should be a bit of a one-off. We've never been so far off the pace in the dry all year, so I think it's quite clear that we didn't get it right in Mexico. Doesn't matter if it was the engine, the car balance, tires, whatever. There was clearly something that wasn't working. And now we focus on Brazil and Abu Dhabi, important last two races before the end of the season, where we want to get the pace back. We want to keep getting back to fight on the podium with Red Bull and Mercedes. I think it's a very interesting fight up front, and yeah, keep having smooth weekends where I can keep learning from the car and prepare for next year.
Prepare for next year, but can I ask you just to sum up this 2022 season?
Yeah, it's been a challenging one, as you all guys have seen from the outside. There was a challenging first third of the season where I struggled a bit with the car balance, with the driving style, a car that for some reason didn't suit me straight out of the box, and I had to fight through it quite a lot. And the second two-thirds, I've been a lot happier with the car. I've been a lot more on the pace, but unfortunately, a lot of DNFs, a lot of reliability issues along the way. On top of that, it looks like Mercedes and Red Bull did have a better second half of the season, and it means that even now, if now I'm up to speed with the car and I'm driving well and I had a solid weekend, for example, in Mexico, the maximum I could get was a P5, no? So a bit unfortunate in that regard, but I've learned a lot. I'm proud with the progress I've done inside the car with my engineers, the way that we managed to turn my pace around. And yeah, I'll make sure the next year we are back to being the consistent Carlos of 2021 and get good results.
Thank you, Carlos, and good luck to you this weekend. Pierre, coming to you now. Before we talk on track, can we just discuss something that happened last week off track in London? AlphaTauri opened a store there. How was it? How was the mannequin challenge with Yuki?
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining. So that was first store opening in the UK for AlphaTauri. So we had a bit of an activation there. It was different than what we are used to, and we got the chance to choose the look for Lawrence and Will for Abu Dhabi. So they're gonna be very stylish journalists out there on the racetrack. And no, it was a fun activation. I mean, I always enjoy hang out with Yuki. It's we had 2 nights in London, this and this specific event, so a really good time.
All right, and look, what about racing here in Brazil? You scored your first Formula One podium here in 2019. Just how do you reflect on that weekend, and how much do you enjoy this weekend here at Interlagos?
I mean, it does feel like quite a while ago already, but obviously every year, every single time I come back to Brazil, I can straight away relate to the emotions that I felt on that day. And yeah, it was an amazing way to get my first podium with the drag race to the line with Lewis, even doing the track walk. You know, every single year it just comes back, and every time we're walking up that last hill to the line, we're just discussing this with the guys, and yeah, it was an incredible moment. So, no, it's always great energy to come here. Must say I enjoy the track. The atmosphere is always fantastic. The fans are really passionate about Formula One, and show it to us and share their passion. So hopefully we can have a strong weekend this year, hopefully again.
Pierre, can I talk to you about penalty points? You're now on 10. If you get 12, you'll be forced to miss a race. How does that affect your approach coming into a race weekend?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it's a very unpleasant situation and quite delicate, and in some ways also a bit embarrassing to be standing in a position where I could be banned for a race after the season that I've done. I don't really feel like I've been particularly dangerous over these last 12 months, and that will be definitely a harsh penalty. But there have been a lot of discussion with the FIA trying to find a solution, because personally I want to do all the races. I want to finish the season in the best way I can with AlphaTauri. I want to do all the races in 2023 and get the maximum chances to perform for Alpine. And obviously there are a lot at stake, because no one knows what's going to happen in 23. I could end up with an amazing car fighting for the championship, for example, and can't take the risk to be banned for a race and lose all my hopes for the championship. So it's a very tricky situation. I've been discussing quite a lot with the FIA to try to find solutions, because the way the regulation is written at the moment, it's quite strict on the drivers and quite harsh penalties, even though it's not always related to dangerous driving. And definitely the penalties has massive repercussion on the team and drivers championship. So I do hope we're gonna have again more conversation today, but I do hope we can find solution ahead of the weekend to avoid to end up in a silly situation where I'll be banned for a race, and that will be terrible for myself, and definitely not the way that I've seen the sport growing up, and I don't think that's a correct approach, because obviously I can't really go into next year with only 2 points and that risk over my head. But at the same time, at the moment, there is no clear solution. So hopefully there can be like a good plan going forward for 2023.
All right, Pierre, thank you for that. Valtteri, coming to you now. You're looking very Nigel Mansell.
Thank you.
Can we talk about the return to the points in Mexico? Just how competitive was the car there? And were you frustrated not to come away with more than 10?
Yeah, first of all, I think it was good to be back in the points. For me, it was a long time ago that I scored last time, so even 1 point is for sure better than nothing. And what was positive was to see how competitive we were, especially in the qualifying. All through the weekend, we were really strong on single lap, but in the race, for sure, we hoped a bit more. And yeah, I think the tires, they actually behaved quite differently than we expected. So the softer compounds seemed to be better than what we thought, and you know, it's easy to say after the race. But yeah, I think the race pace didn't quite match the quality pace, unfortunately. But like I said, it's positive. We have a bit better pace now than some time ago.
And with it being such a tight battle with Aston Martin in the Constructors' Championship, do you welcome the fact that this is a sprint weekend, more points on the table?
Yeah, for sure. We try to take the opportunity now with the with the recent upgrades, we definitely have found a bit more pace. So we're hopeful that we can be competitive here and score points, because it is getting pretty close with Aston. Only 2 to go. So, and you know, for us, either being 6th or 7th in the constructor championship, it actually makes a difference. So yeah, hopefully it's a good one.
And just to sum up this year, your first with Alfa Romeo, how do you reflect on it?
Up and down. We started really strong, then we suffered with quite a few reliability issues and some bad luck as well, and some teams were able to maybe outdevelop us a bit in a way, but I think recently we've been able to gain some momentum, and in the end it is a long-term project. We're focusing for the years ahead, and for the years ahead of us we see we can make good progress. So overall positive if we look at where the team comes from the last 2 years.
All right, Valtteri, thank you, and best of luck this weekend. And Alex, thank you for waiting. Your thoughts on the Las Vegas launch last weekend?
Yeah, it was very cool. I didn't have a show car with me, so I couldn't have too much fun. But otherwise, it was a really cool event. I think I was really surprised to see how many people actually turned up for the event. It was huge. So yeah, it's as Checo said, I think it's going to be a good one next year.
And what about here? The car seemed more competitive at high altitude in Mexico than perhaps the team was expecting going into that race. So what are your hopes for here?
Yeah, you're right. I feel like we came out of the weekend thinking, well, let's say we did a better job than we expected. So it's kind of how it goes. I think you never really know, even with these cars still, 2 races to go, where are you going to be in terms of the ladder of performance. So I'll go into this weekend with the, same as always. I actually get more confused every time, every race weekend where we are. But I think we can go into this with some optimism and let's see what happens.
And Logan Sargent is driving your car during FP2 on Saturday. How's that going to disrupt your preparations for the sprint race?
For sure, it will have a small effect on it. It's most probably, well, it's better to lose FP2 here than FP1, just the way that qualifying's obviously on the Friday. I think it, generally speaking, it should be fine. The main concern is obviously if it's wet on Saturday and it's dry on Friday, then it might be a bit of learning to do in the sprint race. But yeah, that'll be some fun.
And Alex, when you look at this season as a whole, where do you feel Williams needs to make the most progress going forward?
I think we know where we need to improve. It's a lot of it's down to getting the right balance, and it's a common, I guess, feedback from Nicky and myself that we just need to be able to drive the car in the way that we want to. A lot of the times we feel a little bit constricted by the car in certain types of corners. So it's one thing knowing what we need. It's another thing fixing it. So a lot of this time, already talking about midway through this year, has been spent on making sure that the development for next year goes in the right place, and we're making sure we, I guess, leave no, what's the word? Nothing unturned? No stone unturned. There we go. So that's it. And obviously, right now we're still busy in the simulator and making sure that we're going in the direction that we think we need to go in.
All right. Alex, thanks for that. Best of luck this weekend to you as well. Let's open this to the floor. As ever, name and publication, please. Who's got the first one?
I have. David Croft, Sky Sports F1. Question to Valtteri, as you're back in the points again. Alfa Romeo have been in the top 6 in the championship ever since Bahrain. What's better, looking ahead to next year, finishing 6th or finishing 7th? Getting the extra money for finishing 6th or finishing 7th in the Constructors' Championship, where you get 100% of your wind tunnel time for what should be better development throughout the year?
Good question. I think you should ask Fred. I think obviously there's pros and cons, and yeah, I think it is a fact that we're not quite fully at the budget cap, and we could do with some more cash. So for sure that would help. Actually, how much is the difference between the wind tunnel wind tunnel time? Yeah, it's for me it's hard to calculate. I don't know the number in detail. I think still, yeah, we're pushing to be sixth and take the money and use that for car development and driver salaries.
Carlos. Carlos, we could throw this at you as well. I mean, Mercedes are just 40 points behind you guys in the Constructors' Championship now. P2, P3?
I think we would take P2. I think these kind of things, I think they should prioritize the position in the championship. You know, if not, we wouldn't be fighting for positions in the championship. No, I think the competition is the number one priority, and finishing ahead of your competition should always be more satisfying than finishing one position behind and then not getting the wind tunnel or the money. No, so I hope the rules are also designed that your main motivation is to finish ahead. If not, I wouldn't understand it.
Well, fantastic to hear once again from everybody down there in the press conference as well. Press conference number 2 coming up shortly as well, which is always going to be exciting as well. And just having a quick look on Twitter as well. Risk of rain for qualifying in the sprint race, but a dry Brazilian Grand Prix has been expected. And I can see now that Josh is joining me now up in the box as well. Finally, hello Josh, how are you doing? You doing okay?
Yes, I am. I definitely didn't have some tech problems, but I am
Welcome.
here now.
I've had the same thing. We had no mic to begin with. It decided it wasn't going to work for some reason. But yes, hello. Interesting weekend ahead of us then. Just 2 to go. But this weekend is a massive factor because can Mercedes get ahead of Ferrari and the constructors close that gap down? Are we going to see Mercedes take a victory this weekend? This is sort of their last chance saloon, this track, especially in the wet. It's a great leveler.
Yes, see, I just wanted to do no mic. So we're equal now, Josh, don't worry. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult weekend, and it was a good in the press conference I was listening as well. It sounds like Ferrari want to prioritise championship position and trying to get back up, because in Mexico it was absolutely shocking.
Yeah, 5th and 6th as well in that result for Ferrari last time out in Mexico. Let's hope they can have a little bit of a better improvement this weekend. Let's talk quickly about Lewis Hamilton. Some breaking news we had over the past couple of weeks. He's been awarded an honorary citizenship of Brazil in Brasilia as well. So Lewis Hamilton is now an honorary Brazilian, which is fantastic. Of course, his hero Ayrton Senna raced it for Brazil, of course, and won twice at Interlagos as well, 91 and 93. And the other big news that sort of broke in the past couple of hours, Josh, I'll bring you into it because you've got your orange sound guard on. It's quite apt because it's the orange papaya, of course, of Lando Norris, who has developed food poisoning and is not going to be running in the car, we don't think, tomorrow. It's expected he's going to be ready for Friday qualifying, but Nick de Vries is going to be on request and on call just in case he has to take over. So if de Vries does race, that's his 5th team of the year as well, after running for Alpine in a post-season test. Then he ran for Williams, Aston Martin, and then Mercedes, and now McLaren could be his 4th race 2022 car. He's driven more cars this year, Nick de Vries, than Martin Brundle. I mean, the guy's unstoppable, and he's driving them for Williams, of course, AlphaTauri next season. 2 seconds, because we're going to hear from George Russell.
George,
hello.
Should this be a track, well, based on last year's showing, it's a track that would suit the Mercedes. I know you weren't there at the time, but how much optimism is there in the team this weekend?
I think the car this year is a very different beast compared to the one that Mercedes had last year. I think our performance in Mexico was probably a little bit stronger than our base performance. So let's see. I think our main fight is with Ferrari at the moment to try and finish ahead of them. Obviously, Red Bull have been the most robust team every single track they go to, and I expect here with the long straights that they're going to have a very efficient car and be the team to beat. But we're closing the gap, and that's all we can continue to do.
Okay, and how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been got the air
Busy.
miles up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's,
Back to Europe, then back to Vegas, then straight to here, or
No, I went back home again.
Okay,
So I was in the
wow.
factory on Tuesday. I mean, it's been a very important couple of weeks for us in terms of development for next year. So we had some important meetings and simulator sessions last week, which I wanted to be back home for. And then obviously with the sprint race this weekend, also our preparations were equally important. So yeah, back home again, a few more nights in my own bed, which is always pleasant, and ready for these last two races.
Nice to hear then as well from Mercedes. Okay, let's bring Josh back in so we can actually ask him that question finally as well. Yeah, Lando Norris ill. It looks like we're going to have a different situation with possibility of Nick de Vries being in the car. I mean, this is just terrible because Lando had food poisoning, of course, back at the Spanish Grand Prix in May and qualified 11th, finished 8th.
Has he decided to go into the restaurant, that restaurant just down the road in in Salisbury with the food poisoning a couple of years ago? It's really not been good, has it?
No,
This season,
he's having
Lando Norris.
he's having a
And we wish
nightmare.
him all of the best. But Nick de Vries, and we thought Nico Hulkenberg was the super sub. There might be another one, but of course Hulkenberg might get a seat in 23.
Yeah, we're waiting. Actually, it was supposed to be announced today whose Haas second driver for 2023 was going to be. At the moment, we've got no word. Rumour is it's going to be Nico Hulkenberg, but Haas seem to want to try and keep Mick Schumacher as much as possible, which is bizarre, considering that they're the ones trying to get rid of him. So we're going to try and find out for you in the coming days who exactly it will be. We should hear more officially by Saturday morning. So that's practice 2 sprint race time as well, because this is a different weekend, of course, compared to normal. Tomorrow, on Friday, we've got free practice 1 and qualifying. Saturday, free practice 2 and the sprint race. Sunday, unaffected with the main Grand Prix. And we're on air 90 minutes before the start of the main show as well to show you the sprint race once again. And it might even be a 2-hour build-up show because we want to get some interviews from the drivers before we go into the sprint race as well. Okay, got a few more then about Ferrari. I think we're going to hear from Charles Leclerc as well. Let's go over. Yeah, here's Charles Leclerc with Ted.
Ciao, Charles. How optimistic are you that you can get involved in some really good racing at the front this weekend?
Well, I think it's going to be... I don't really know what to expect from this weekend. We don't know whether it's going to rain or not. And it's a sprint quali weekend too. So it should be an exciting weekend though. And I feel like we'll be back a bit more in line with the performance we've had before Mexico, because Mexico was really difficult for us. And hopefully we can be fighting more at the front.
You still executed a good weekend in Mexico. We all know what the limitations were. Have the team given you any guidance about how those limitations, those limits on the power unit might be able to be risen a bit, changed a bit, so you can get a bit more speed?
Yes, well, I mean we'll be back to normal here.
Okay,
I think.
Good.
Mexico was again very high altitude. We struggle a bit more there, but I'm confident that it will come back to normal here.
Because what your PU unit does do is give you great traction, and out of some of these slow corners, that could get you up to a position where you could be challenging some of these straights around here.
Yeah, I hope so. Again, I think in qualifying, I expect us to be good. It's more coming the race day that Red Bull seems to do a step. Mercedes has been extremely quick last race.
Yeah.
So this we have to see, wait and see. But for qualifying, I feel like it will be a bit more in line.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to hear then from Charles Leclerc there, and I think Josh as well. For Charles, it's pretty much, he knew the season was done round about after, what was it, Italy, wasn't it? Silverstone, even Singapore, he knew he was completely dead. But Ferrari going into 2023 need to sort of take the gloves off a bit and properly go for it. Otherwise, they'll never be world champions again. They've sort of missed out this year due to their own recklessness.
Laughable, isn't it?
Massively, yeah.
But in all seriousness, Ferrari really needs to get it together. It's an absolute mess And as you said, if they don't get it together, they might never ever be world champions again. And imagine if a team like Williams came back and got a championship before Ferrari got their other one.
I know, it's absolutely ridiculous if they got there. Ferrari spent so much money and then time and effort pouring into the 2022 resources. It hasn't worked out that way. The paddock here as well in Sao Paulo, well, technically it's the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, but it is the Brazilian Grand Prix still because there's just been a massive election here in the Brazilian country, which has restored the previous leader of this country. When he liked the Brazilian Grand Prix, then the previous one didn't. So he got rid of it and made Interlagos, call it the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. So it looks like this will be the last Sao Paulo Grand Prix, and then from 2023 it'll be back to being called the Brazilian Grand Prix, which is absolutely fantastic. In fact, even the hashtag this weekend is hashtag BrazilGP as well, which is fantastic. Okay. We're going to hear, I think, from Sebastian Vettel shortly as well, as the second half of the press conference is just about ready to go in as well. Doesn't like Sky going on an ad break just yet, but that might have been a bit of a miracle thing to say. Just a reminder then that you can... No, here he is.
Part 2 of the drivers' press conference.
Okay, part 2 of the press conference there with Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen, Lando Norris not here with Max Verstappen. And it's not happening now, it's happening after the break. Okay, so Rachel led me astray there because she was saying, okay, let's go over to part 2 of the press conference. And then it was like, oh, okay, they're going for a break instead. So even Sky's making a small mistake there.
You just got Lance strolled, but Sky F1 first.
I know.
And I think the FIA do not like me. So I printed the pit lane map for the Grand Prix, and literally an hour after printing, version 2 comes out.
They changed it, yeah. Something got changed in the pit lane about the speed limit, didn't they? Also, yeah, just a reminder then, quickly, that if you do want to watch some motorsports this evening as well, PSGL is the place to be as we kick off the PCF3 seasons. As well, myself and Richie will be commentating on that. And then we've got the F4, F5 and F6 also being streamed at the similar times as well. So you've got plenty of motorsport to watch this evening. I was on the F2 commentary last night with Luke, as well as we kick-started that one. Luke's going to be away for the next couple of weekends. So I'm going to be filling in for Luke alongside Chris as well. But Chris was ill yesterday, so I was filling in for him. So let's hope his voice gets back later or not. Go on, Josh.
How good does this sound? Joshua Burt, PSGL, PCF2 commentator. How good does that sound?
Very good, but it's only temporary.
Yes,
I'm only helping out. Yeah, it does. It's very good. I must admit, I got a lot of praise for that last night, and that made me feel a bit better as well, because I'm not exactly 100% myself at the moment. A mix of fatigue, a mix of illness, and a mix of not feeling shipshape is leading to me very much wanting this season break coming up shortly.
Very, very nearly there.
Yeah, just, what was it? Technically, it's only 7 days, isn't it? Because it's 2 races, but we're coming up close to 7 days, so... we're counting them in. Then I've only got to do occasional World Cup matches as well, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Then Formula E have to spoil it and come back.
All right. That's literally just a day, though. It's one day. Yeah. I can live one day. Then we've got a double header at the end of January in Saudi Arabia where Megan's joining the commentary box, I think, or Tom Dillon. I can't remember which one is joining for that one. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I think Nick Homewood even might be popping into the commentary box for one of them as well. So we're getting everybody involved next year as plans start to take shape, and organising next year is absolutely insane as well. But on about this year as well, we're just waiting to see if there's any interviews from Sky F1 that we haven't heard, because we haven't heard from Sebastian Vettel just yet. And nothing at the moment coming out, nothing on Twitter either. Just quickly looking as well, Ed Spencer just said it looks like the season finale of the Haas F1 Factor will not be shown this weekend. Phone lines are still open to save your favourite German driver. So it doesn't look like there will be a decision on who is driving at Haas this weekend. Presumably they want to give Mick this weekend and next weekend to prove himself, and then we might hear it either just before Abu Dhabi or just after Abu Dhabi. But we will be having shows with the F1, like monthly F1 shows, to bring you up to date on all the news as well. And also the grid tonight is the place to be for those as well on Wednesday evenings, which I myself and Kobe were with last night. Taking a deep breath as well, as you can tell I'm not exactly well, as I've got the iced tea, although because we can't show branding on YouTube now, we've had to take the label off. But we have got the iced tea up in the comments box. It's a peach flavour. And also, me and Josh, I can see Josh wearing it as well. Poppies on this weekend. Tomorrow is Remembrance Day here in the UK, and Sunday is Remembrance Sunday as well. There'll be a minute's silence at 11 o'clock as well on both Friday and Saturday. Sorry, on Sunday as well. Go on, Josh.
If you are a British GT and GB3 tickets are now on sale for 2023 for Vans Hat, and you can watch people like O'Sullivan.
And here we go then, over to the second half of the press conference. Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen and Max Verstappen taking part. No Lando Norris, of course, due to his illness.
Everybody to part 2 of our drive. As you can see from left to right, there is our world champion Max Verstappen with Kevin Magnussen, Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll. Very warm welcome to you all. Let's go right to left, if we may. So Lance, we're going to start with you. Tell us about your racing car. After some good races, the pace of the car dropped off a bit in Mexico. What have you learnt since that race? What were the issues last time out?
Yeah, I think Mexico was just a tough weekend for us. We were just really, not competitive from the beginning of the weekend. But when I look back at the races before Mexico, I think we were, quite strong. Just like thinking back to Austin before we had our issues, we were running P3 for a while, and then in Suzuka we had a good pace as well. So I think the car since the summer break has been strong at many events, stronger since the beginning of the season, I should say. But yeah, Mexico for whatever reason was really, really difficult for us. So I think we learned a lot. Hopefully we come back here stronger.
Did the altitude affect the car last time?
Well, the altitude's the same for everybody. So I think it's, more than that, I think we definitely understood some weaknesses of our car and things that we have to think about and improve definitely next time we go back to Mexico. But I just hope we can get back on form this weekend.
So look, what about here? Do you think it will be better? I mean, we're at 800 meters as opposed to 2,000.
I hope so. I mean, it's a different track layout. The altitude's a little bit different, but we'll have to see. I mean, we'll have to see.
Look, what about this battle in the Constructors' Championship? You're just 4 points off Alfa Romeo now. Can you rein them in? What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about having, clean races. I mean, when I look back at the last few races, I think we missed out on opportunity of points. Like in Austin, both cars were doing well, and I had a crash, and then Seb had a pit stop issue, so we lost a lot of points there. And I think it's really just about being competitive, and then if we're fast and competitive, it's just about capitalizing and scoring points. But if we have pace like we did in Mexico, it's obviously going to be challenging. But if we have better pace and we're competitive, then it's just about capitalizing on it.
And Lance, when you look back at this year as a whole, what do you think you and the team have done well, and where do you think there's room for improvement?
Well, I think we really struggled at the beginning of the year. I think we were far off the pace at the beginning of the year, but the guys have done a great job at improving the car. We introduced a new package in was it Barcelona? That was kind of the beginning of change, and then from there, I think we've developed the car a lot throughout the year. And like I said, since the summer break, I think we've been in a much more competitive position. We went from constantly being out of, most of the time out of a position to score points on pure pace. And then since the summer break, we've often been in positions to score points. So I think the guys have done a great job at improving the car. We've definitely, I think made big steps in the right direction, and it's just about it's about keeping on going in that direction really in the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Lance. Good luck this weekend. Esteban, coming to you now. So how much do you look forward to racing here in Brazil, and particularly here at this track? Because points last year, and then, of course, anyone who remembers 2017 will know that it was your only retirement of that phenomenal season. So you've had a bit of both. Just tell us about your thoughts coming in.
Yeah, I had a bit of everything here, mixed emotions for sure, but it's one of the tracks that we all enjoy, coming in. It's such a legendary track. There are some corners that you don't find anywhere else. And the grip on the wet back in 2016 is extraordinary. So it's, I really enjoy this track. It's probably the track that I spent the most time on gaming when we was COVID. So I was looking forward massively to come back in 2021. And we are going to be racing 2 times here this weekend. So it's going to be great.
And what do you need from your car to be quick?
Well, I think this weekend is all about getting ready and getting on top of all the little issues, getting the confidence early in FP1, because that's the last time we were able to touch the car. So, yeah, getting a clean FP1 and picking up pace through quali is going to be key. The rest of the weekend is then a lot easier.
Now, look, what about this battle with McLaren in the Constructors' Championship? You guys are just 7 points ahead of McLaren now. Can you relax?
No, not at all. It's been a very long season. A lot has happened, but it's not time to relax. We'll relax after the checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be tight until the end, of course. McLaren were quick in Mexico, and they tend to be quick, through the year. We have our ups and downs as well. But hopefully, this weekend is going to be up.
As you say, it's been a long season. Just how do you reflect on 2022 as a whole, and what the team's done well, and where you think you still need to improve for next year?
Yeah, I think it's been a good season. From where we started, we were obviously looking at trying to improve the car, trying to get more pace out of it, and we clearly developed extremely well during this season, a long time in the season as well, and all the upgrades that we're bringing were massive steps in general. And this is still what we need to keep going for next year. We are still not in position to be in the top 5 all the time, but we've touched it at times, and this is what we need to keep going more consistently.
All right. Thank you. Best of luck this weekend. Kevin, coming to you now. I feel that sort of Haas had a similar tale to Aston Martin in a way last time out in Mexico. Very strong in Austin, and then disappointing weekend in Mexico. What have you learnt since the race about the performance of the car?
I don't know. I think it's Mexico is a weird one. I think for us it was more not being able to get the most out of the tires in Mexico. It is, of course, up, high altitude, thin air, and that, has an effect on what kind of setup you run and downforce level. And I don't know if that affected us more than other teams. Certainly, we weren't very strong, and it's hard to know what you can learn from that, really. But hopefully here it's going to be a different story, and we scored points in Austin, so it shows that it is still possible to score points. Although we have kind of fallen behind some of these guys that we were fighting with more in the beginning of the year. It's still possible to score.
And talking of altitudes, this racetrack's at a similar height to the Red Bull Ring, where of course you had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, I don't think the altitude is really what makes the big difference. It's always little details and the sum of all those details that makes it a good or bad performance. So yeah, I don't think you can put it down to altitude.
What about this race in Brazil? You've said that this is a track that you love. What makes it so special? The
history, I think, is just when you come here, there's so many kind of you know, I remember watching so many races as a kid on this track, and it was always, you know, the last race of the season. You know, at least when I was watching as a young boy, and a lot of great races have been here, and of course all the history with Senna as well, and just Brazil. You know, the Brazilian fans are always super enthusiastic, and yeah, I just feel like it is a special place. Track is also great to drive. It's a little sort of go-kart track feeling. Yeah, always love coming here.
And what about the season as a whole, Kevin? How would you sum up your return to Formula One with Haas?
Yeah, it's been a real journey. Of course, at the beginning of the year we were really strong. Started the season in Bahrain with P5, and you know, that was a massive surprise, I guess, because the team had been struggling for 2 years, and then, you know, to hit the road like that in the first race was pretty cool. And then, you know, of course we had a very strong first half of the year. I think some of the other teams like Alpine and Aston Martin have kind of developed their, you know, performance more than us, but, you know, there's no reason that we can't catch up over the winter and start again like we did next year.
Talking of the winter, there's not going to be much downtime for you after Abu Dhabi, because you've got the Gulf 12 hours coming up a couple of weeks later. Done any testing yet? What can you tell us about that race?
No, we're going to get a few laps in the car before going to Abu Dhabi with it. But of course, it's something that I'm really excited about. Racing with my dad is always something that I enjoy a lot. You know, it's such a special thing that we're still both active racing drivers at the same time. You know, he's not that old, so I feel like I have to grab the opportunity as much as I can while he's still, you know, in good shape and fast. So it's the first time that we're going to drive in a GT car together, and I think he's going to be pretty hard to beat in that one, but we'll see.
Good luck. Hey, Max, do you fancy something like this with your dad?
Yeah, I want to, but he doesn't want to at the moment, so I need to convince him. He's fully into rallying, so I hope, of course, in the coming years we can do that.
Now, talking of extracurricular racing activities, while everyone else was resting last weekend, you went racing in the virtual 6 hours of Spa. How did that go?
It was quite eventful, to be honest. Can we skip that? No, we finished second. Yeah, it was okay, but I had a moment in a Rouge.
Oh, okay. Not a small moment then?
No, it was quite a big moment. It happens.
No, look, let's bring it on to here then, Max. Tell us what you enjoy about racing in Brazil. You've won here before. You've had 3 other podiums. Just how special was that win back in 2019?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's an amazing track. There are not many corners, but it's just the shape, the camber of the corners, just the whole atmosphere, of course, around here. The history, the fans here, they love Formula One. There's a lot of passion, what really goes into it, you know. So I think we all love coming here, and of course, winning was an amazing feeling. But even being on the podium and in general, you know, is always super nice.
What about win number 15 of the season this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a good chance, of course. I mean, the car is quick, and I think this track normally should be good for us. So I'm excited, and of course, you know, I'll try to win.
Right, best of luck with that, Max. Thank you very much. Let's open this to the floor, as ever. Name and publication. Who's got our first one, please?
Afternoon, gentlemen. David Croft, Sky Sports F1. Question for Max. Sprint weekend, which normally is quite good for you. You like racing, you like winning, and you've been doing that at the sprints this year. But I've read some quotes that you weren't overly chuffed with the sprint format. You didn't really fancy it too much. So I just wondered if you could expand on that. What is it about the sprint weekend format that you don't like and you'd rather not be doing?
Yeah, honestly, I'm just not a big fan of it because I feel like we don't really race because there are a few points that you get, right? But you also know that you can't really risk it because, you know, the main race, this is where you really get the points. So you don't do a pit stop. So you just put on the tire which will last the distance, right? So with these cars, probably the racing is a little bit better, but overall, you don't really see a lot of overtaking unless there is a car out of position. So then, yeah, it's not really that fun for me. Of course, everyone has their own opinion, right? Just for me, it's not that fun. I do like the, one practice and then straight go, into qualifying. I don't mind that because it's less practice for everyone to get fully up to speed, and you need to really nail the setup. So that's okay, but yeah, I always feel a bit that when I go into a sprint race that you're not really risking a lot and just wanting to play safe.
Kevin, can I just get your thoughts on this? Max doesn't race because he's always out front.
Must be really boring. No, I kind of like it. Max has a good point that the risk that you want to take in the sprint is less because it decides your position for Sunday. So I think maybe a good tweak could be to separate that, so you can go for it. I do enjoy going from practice one straight into qualifying as well, because as Max said, it puts a lot of pressure to find your rhythm quickly and get the setup right. So I feel like when there's 3 practice, it's quite a lot. So anyway, yeah, I kind of like it.
All right, guys, thank you.
Fantastic then to hear from everybody in the press conference here today, and that about wraps it up for us here as well in the preview show. Josh, just coming to you quickly as well, as I'm getting loads of PSGL things popping up as well, ready for tonight's show. Are we looking forward to Brazil? Are we going to see some rain, or is it going to remain dry throughout the weekend and spoil all our fun? Either way, it should be a great Brazil Grand Prix.
Yeah, I've seen the weather forecast, and it might be a little bit mostly green and blue tyres as well, and maybe a little repeat of 2016. But I am going to go and enjoy some light shows at Salisbury Cathedral.
That sounds amazing. Have a great night. I'm going to be commentating on PCF3 and until about 9:15. Then I'm going to go get my notes ready and have an early night ready for some stuff tomorrow. Okay, free practice 1. Myself, Josh, and Synthel will be joining us in the commentary box. For qualifying. I see. There you go. Sprint weekend. Qualifying on the Friday, myself and Megan will be in the comments box with Josh in the pit lane. On practice 2, Synthel joins us once again. And for the sprint race, I'm delighted to say Synthel will be joining us in the commentary box as well for an actual race, finally. And then on Sunday's main Grand Prix, Ian Birch will be back with us in the commentary box as well for the remaining 2 races. So it's going to be a lot of fun, this one. Josh, early predictions, who's going to win the race? And thoughts on Synthel being in the box, because I thought you might want to say about that.
Bribery at its finest.
Yeah. Literally, he said, I was like, do you want to come in for a sprint race? And he said, yeah, I'll think about it. And then he texted me saying, I can be there for qualifying. And then later on in the day, he said, all right, instead of joining you for qualifying, I can maybe instead join you for the sprint race. And I was like, yes, I'll have you for a sprint race, please. We've been wanting in the box for ages. And don't forget
bribery at its finest.
I know. And don't forget, in Abu Dhabi, Synthel will be joining me in the commentary box for the F2 race as well. And with it being the last practice sessions of the season, we'll have a couple of special guests lined up to join the commentary team as well across practice 1, 2 and 3 as well. And then everything will be back to normal for qualifying and the race, with Megan and me and Josh in the commentary box for quali, and on the race on Sunday, the whole team together for the action as well. And then a review show straight after, as per normal. Okay then, thanks Josh, and thanks to everyone watching. We'll see you tomorrow. PSGL is the place to be tonight. Premier Sims Gaming League as well. PC F3 starts at 8 o'clock tonight. Myself and Richie on the comms. Join us. It's going to be fantastic. Thanks for your company, Josh. Thanks to all of you at home. Well, we're back then in Sao Paulo, Brazil, a sprint weekend. Just 2 more left. We're nearly at the end, but it's going to be a classic weekend. Bye for now.